Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Koobs, and today I'd like to present my summer triangle theory. In the background here we can see the three sisters, and when connecting these three towers with imaginary lines we get a triangle that looks like this. Now here we have the eternal cities, and we can see by connecting these with an imaginary triangle we get a triangle that looks like this. Now, when comparing the two at first, I thought they may be similar, but I wasn't quite sure until I had the thought of the Carian study hall and the Carian inverted statue. Now, why would we have this idea of inversion come up only once with the Carians, but never again? So I thought maybe if we inverted the three sisters, we could unveil the secret. And now we're left with something much closer to the triangle uniting the eternal cities. And we can see when we overlap the two, we get triangles which are similar, but certainly not identical. However, at this point I wasn't convinced that there was no connection at all. I remembered these three statues at the lunar estate, which always made me think of the three sisters. So I thought, maybe they make a similar triangle. And this was honestly even less convincing, but I wondered if maybe the significance was more symbolic in this sense than it was literal. I recalled encountering connections between Celia and Ordina and what is considered the lower capital. They share identical architecture, and so I thought maybe there was a connection that could be drawn between the three. And I'll admit, it's not perfect, but I do see some similarities here. Although, even if there were connections to be made, at this point, what would it all even mean? I mean, have I been reduced to a loon drawing triangles as I eagerly await the arrival of the shadow of the Erdtree? There has to be some meaning to this madness. And then I realized the astrologers were said to have read the fate in the stars, or rather one could say they read fate in the stars. And we also know that Queen Renala, who brought the Carian family into royalty, was once an astrologer. So I thought, what would astrology say? And that's where the summer triangle comes into the picture. I believe the eternal cities were designed in a way to resemble the summer triangle. The summer triangle is an asterism. It's not a constellation, but rather it's made up of three bright stars which each reside in their own constellations. Identifying the summer triangle is one of the fundamentals for astrology and astronomy, as it unlocks the ability to further learn the branching constellations, meaning that it allows one to read the stars, if you will. And with that analogy in mind, it is my opinion that the summer triangle is being left behind as the cornerstone of their culture's language, that being reading the stars. I also believe that the reason we see this change from the eternal cities to the landmarks above has some possible explanations. However, this would certainly lead to speculation. It is entirely possible that these changes have occurred naturally with the passage of time, as both the landscape of the lands between and the placement of the stars in the sky was likely to have changed gradually over time. However, what I believe that what we may be seeing is not the replication of the summer triangle found in the eternal cities, but possibly an updated version of the asterism as time has progressed in the lands between. The spirit or the essence of the symbol, the idea of the summer triangle being the key to unlocking one's ability to understand and read the stars, is carried on through this deliberate architectural design to ensure that the language of the stars is never lost. We see various connections between the Carians and the Nox of the eternal cities. We can find this passage, which is guarded by a Carian troll knight and is sealed shut with a sigil that belongs to the night sorceries. By comparing the sigils of these two sorceries, we can see direct connections between them. We also see blue flame in Caria banner, flame which is found in both Celia and Ordina. as well as the eternal cities, and we can find a Nox statue at the Church of Vows. And if you thought I was finished with the triangles, I am in fact not finished with the triangles. I actually have 2 more triangles for you. And this is Ordina, and this is their triangle, and I see striking similarities to the triangle of the 3 sisters. And this is Celia and their triangle, which I've purposely colored with the pretty green, and this triangle looks much more like the triangle of the Eternal Cities. And I think that it reinforces the idea of these triangles being related to the Summer Triangle, and that its cultural significance is continuing to be passed down over time. And so long as those who gaze upon the stars have the Summer Triangle, they can begin to read the fate in the stars. Or so that's what I'm choosing to believe. Thank you so much for listening to my theory. I had a lot of fun with this project, and I really hope that you enjoyed it, or at the very least found it entertaining. I have been and always will be Coobs. Peace and love, gamers.